it is now, so the military is now usurping the function of the police, and I think it is not competitive. Like I sometimes ago, I heard that the military trained about 300 women soldiers to man Calabar, Kaduna, Abuja Road. That's not the military. That is not the function of the military. Policing our roads, highways. It's not the function of the military. That's militarizing our policing and law enforcement, which is not good for democracy. And it will give the citizens the wrong impression that the police are known for performance. What they want to see is the military. And it's not good for our psychic. So I think the government of this country should have the political will, equip the police, fund the police, and give the police the required manpower based on need, not just based on desires, based on need. If the needs of the police are met, the police will perform effectively to meet the security needs of the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alobi. Dr. Siegel, your thoughts.
I agree with CP Alobi, and I would reinforce the point that we do need to differentiate the role of the police and the army. In Nigeria, the army has had to come in and play a stronger domestic security role because the police have been unable to do so. And I think that's going to be the case for the near term. But I would come back to say, yeah, there's a good argument to expand the capacity of the police, but that's not just more funding. That requires more training, that requires quality control, that requires accountability. If your police are not accountable, then that encourages more lawlessness. It, in fact, gives incentives for more of the criminal gangs and community groups to use violence towards their ends. So, the police have to set a higher standard. They have to earn that trust from the civilian population in order to get there. The idea of an intelligence warehouse, Jumo, it sounds, attractive, and it gets at a really important point about there needs to be better intelligence, and that ultimately, because we're dealing with domestic security challenges, it's the quality of that intelligence and information sharing that's going to lead to stability. But I think since we're starting from a low level of trust, I don't think it's very practical to talk about an intelligence warehouse right now, because that means you're putting sensitive information out there where it can get into the hands of a lot of different groups. And so I would suggest instead focusing on bilateral relationship building. So local police should be establishing relationships with local communities. Army should be developing stronger relationships with with police in different states, and at the national level, the different agencies need to be sharing information and coordinating at a better level. So I would be more focused on the horizontal information sharing within each individual context, rather than talking about an information warehouse at this point. I think there's just too many places where that information could seep. It would lead to botched missions and loss of personnel, and then the trust would be lost, and you're not going to see more cooperation. So I think starting small, at local context is the way to go. Last point on that, you mentioned the media. Jumo is part of the information sharing, and I appreciate the other comments made about the media, and realize there are challenges. But the media is an important part of the solution, and I think CPLB was getting at this. The media is probably the most powerful platform to educate the population and to help build up understanding what security challenges are and how there has to be cooperation. And so I think the media does need to be brought in. There needs to be a series of dialogues at the national down to the local level between security actors and the media. And there needs to be a shared understanding. What are our respective roles? How can we work together to realize that in today's security environment, both sides have an important role. And rather than to look at their relationship as an adversarial one, to look at where there could be greater cooperation. And so looking at how do you build trust between media and security, I think is a really important priority moving forward. Over.
So much, Dr. Siegel. Mr. Burton, your thoughts?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Siegel. Building trust has to be based upon sincere action to enforce. I think the idea of dialogue and meetings between media and security actors is a good idea, but it has to be a free and fair discussion, which people in the media are not punished for telling the truth. Currently, there are several journalists in Nigeria who have to do their work in hiding because they've been jailed for simply telling the truth. They have been accused of incitement or defamation simply for telling the facts of the terrorism in the Middle Belt. So the key thing here is that the people in the media have to do their damn jobs by telling the truth about the terrorism and the fact that local police and especially military are actually complicit in allowing the murders of unarmed, innocent civilians in the Middle Belt. I cannot speak about other parts of Nigeria because my reporting is chiefly just on 3 states in the Middle Belt. But clearly, the government authorities have been incentivized by their uplines, maybe in Abuja, not to enforce the law. They are standing by and allowing attacks to take place against innocent people in the Middle Belt. This is an atrocity, and the media must be held accountable for not telling the truth, even to the people of Nigeria.
Thank you so much, Doug. Any thoughts, Ian? I'm very curious about your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I'll start by saying that I agree with Mr. Burton's point about that. I guess I'm a little bit more forgiving in the sense that I don't know if it's necessarily the best thing to forcefully hold account the media, because when I hear that as an excuse for a government to suppress the media. I agree in general the principle that yes, there needs to be an acknowledgement that there is a enablement of kind of this existing crisis economy that's developed between insurgents and even the military. And jumping on a point that Dr. Siegel raised, I think really the dialogue needs to happen not just between media and the security, but between security forces and the people. The biggest issue, I think, from an outside observation is the Nigerian military and other security forces have lost the trust of the people, both from their own actions and in situations where they have either ignored local intelligence that came to them. And I know Doug has mentioned situations where the military has not intervened in situations in the Middle Belt. If I'm not mistaken, I believe in the case of the infamous raid on the Chibok school, the Nigerian military there had advance warning of an attack coming and then removed themselves from the surrounding area. I'm not saying that happens in every situation, but that is something that is going to weaken the Nigerian people's belief that the military and police are there to protect them, and not that they're there simply to protect the privilege and wealth of Nigerian elites, their government officials, and the oil companies operating in the Niger Delta region. And until that trust is rebuilt, you're not going to get effective intelligence from people, because they either won't share it with you, or they're going to withhold out of fear that they will face reprisals from insurgents. And they have no reason to think currently that they will be protected by the military for risking their lives and sharing information with them. With that, the last point I want to make too is I would push back a little bit on something that Dr. Yakubu and Corporal Alobi brought up earlier, which is that if you empower local security forces, you're simply building a secessionist army. Now, I agree, if you were to give full arms to IPOB, yes, they would probably want to secede because their stated goal is, to secede. But I think that if you build the trust necessary among the Nigerian people to see their security is bound up in the whole of the country being safe, including their communities, and then you go about actually giving them the power to protect themselves, arm themselves, and act as organized units of self-defense and communal safety, then that's not necessarily the case that if you support these people, you're simply arming secessionism in that. And yeah, I think that would summarize my points on that.
Thank you, Ian. And last but not the least, Dr. Yakubu, your thoughts. You're muted, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Like Olajumoke said, I think in the Nigerian context, I can say that in a way we have intelligence warehouse. In Nigeria, the State Security Service is the primary agency responsible for intelligence domestically within the country. And to the best of my knowledge, it is a reservoir of intelligence. Every day, it shares intelligence with consumers, the designated consumers. The security forces, the police, the Nigerian army, and the Corps, and then the leaders, the political leaders, the president, the governors, and so on. So even the local government chairman, actually intelligence is being shared with them for their action. What we don't do, and like any other intelligence outfit, is to share intelligence with the journalists, with the press, because effectively what we'll be doing is to declassify the intelligence that you are sharing, because the media will automatically in the newspaper, and then it will be in the other media houses, and that will undermine national security further. But I think what we need is actually the support of everybody in terms of information collection, including the press. The press has to be patriotic, has to be, an arm of the government that is also, they should see themselves as the fourth arm of the government, because without security, even the press themselves, they are at risk. I think a lot of press were attacked by Boko Haram. This day newspaper, if you could remember, at the early days of Boko Haram, was attacked by the militants in Abuja. So I think this is, very important for the press. They should consider themselves part of the government, part of the society, and they should be responsible enough to share information, with the State Security Service and with other intelligence outfit in the country, With that, we'll have a better secured Nigeria. And one important thing is that, I mean, if there's one country is not secured in the whole world, that can pose the danger, I mean, a danger to the whole world. Because if Nigeria is not secured, then it can pose threat to other nations, not only its neighbors, even other nations that are far away from it. Because I know, as we have seen before, like the September 11 attack was actually planned from elsewhere, but it was executed in the United States, and that is the importance of securing every country in the world. It is not an easy thing to do, but it is possible. But what we need actually is active support of the population to the government itself, to its law enforcement and security and intelligence outfit, and collaboration within the security and law enforcement agencies in Nigeria, like Commissioner of Police Lawrence Alobi mentioned, is actually, and Joe Siegel also mentioned, is actually critical in achieving the level of security in Nigeria. So I think with this, I'll stop. I think we have taken a lot of time. Maybe not drag the discussion into another phase.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yakubu. This has been a very engaging dialogue. We have touched upon a lot of issues, but as Ian has correctly mentioned, we cannot forget the crucial role of women, gendered violence, and also having responses that take into consideration women as victims as well as perpetrators when thinking about appropriate security responses. And that is something that we did not touch upon in this security summit, but it's something that we are also thinking of putting together for our next one. And I hope that you can join us for a gendered discussion of the security crisis and how we can move forward with that. With that said, if there are any questions from the audience to specific panelists, please write them down in the chat so we can ask them. I would give each person about 2 to 3 minutes. I know we do have a question from Mr. Edwin, who is with the News Agency of Nigeria. He had sent his question via WhatsApp, and he was very interested, and this is a question for a lot of the panelists, is realistically, do you think Nigeria is a nation in view of a lot of the increasing security crises that are going on with the many secessionist movements as well as insurgency movements? So I'm curious to hear from, Nigerians who are in Nigeria, as well as from, from international practitioners and journalists. What do you think? What are your perspectives of seeing Nigeria as a nation, given the increasing security crisis? And this is open to anybody who would want to answer the question.
Well, I think if I may, can I come in?
Of course you can.
Yeah, Nigeria is a nation. Only that it is some of its people don't believe that Nigeria is a nation. It is only in Nigeria that we'll hear people talking about Africanism, but they don't believe in themselves as a people in Nigeria. So Nigeria is a nation, and it's not yet a failed state. I think the government is doing its best to make sure that Nigeria functions very well. Nigeria is facing challenges from many. From various sectors. I think the press has the responsibility. They know if Nigeria is one state, it's a state, and they should know if Nigeria is a failed state. And they have the responsibility of actually enlightening people towards national cohesion, not division. We are talking of global village now. Every country we see in the world has its own challenges. Almost all countries in the world, they have more than one ethnic group. I can tell you, even if a country consists of only one ethnic group, one clan, I can tell you, because of struggle for power, it will face the same problem Nigeria is facing. Let's say, for example, now, IPOB succeed in this agenda to secede from Nigeria. The 5 eastern states, assuming that they successfully leave Nigeria, the same crisis that we are facing in Nigeria, you will face that same crisis will envelop the whole region. Let me give you my experience while I was doing National Youth Corps in Enugu State. We were at the camp and just suddenly a fight erupted between 2 people, a man and a woman. Who are those women? Who are those people? They are all Igbo men. I mean, they are all Igbos. Nobody is from another place. But the fight was because they were tailors, and one of the tailors is having, the woman is having more customers than the man, and the man started fighting her that she should leave the camp because the camp is not in her own local government. So you can imagine, even go back to state when there is when election is approaching, you will hear a lot of community that this is our tone, this is our tone. You understand? You don't find this in many countries. For example, in the United Kingdom, somebody from Oxford in Conservative Party can be asked to stand election in let's say Buckingham. They don't have that problem as such, but in Nigeria, because of selfish interest, because of struggle for power, that's why we face all this problem. So if Nigeria is not a functional state, if somebody thinks that Nigeria has failed, if somebody thinks that the solution is to balkanize Nigeria, that will not solve the problem Nigeria is actually facing. You will see militia groups forming to advance political interest. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Yakubu. And if anybody doesn't
can I come in here, please?
Yes, of course, you can come in, Mr. Lubi.
Yes. On the issue of you asked about sorry, what was that issue? What was the question again? Come at me, please.
Of course. The question is, do you see Nigeria as a nation given the
nation? Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, you see, Nigeria is a nation. That is under in the law, it's a nation recognized over the world, even a United Nations and so where it's a nation. Every nation has its own crisis problems, just like a family. For the fact that a family has something, a family does not exist, Nigeria is a nation, a sovereign nation. But the point is that the problem in Nigeria, as what actually has bedeviled our country, there are so many factors. One, corruption, nepotism. Nigeria, we have leaders who don't have a party, leaders who don't have a listening ear. Leadership is not one who control, but leadership is all about who to control. To control. Leadership is to impart on people, leadership is to build capacity. But in Nigerian context, leadership is to impoverish the people. So the point is that Nigeria is a nation, but the point is that we have not come to know the need to unite as one country and work for the beauty of our country. We are so fragmented in terms of religious basis, ethnic basis, another factor. That's why nepotism, like I said today, this is our turn. We are becoming too nepotic. We don't concern about the national interest of the country, concern about our ethnic group, our ethnic interests. And that's what has drawn us back Nigerian toughness. Every Nigerian should see what can I do to add value, what I do by nation various effort. And now religion too has been playing a role too. We are divided, all our thinking is our religion, nothing about our country. So when we become united as one country in our actions and our thoughts, and all our views, our vision, we have a common vision. Our code of arms talks about unity and faith. Our code of arms. But the point is, are we united? We don't live by our creed. We don't live by our national anthem. So the point is that we need to develop that national consciousness. When Nigerians see themselves as Nigerians and work for the good of Nigerian society and the good of every Nigerian society. And because there's a lot of injustice. Today in Nigeria, nepotism is so that people don't care for others, they care about themselves. When one is in the position, we think about his ethnic group or religious group, don't think about what is just and right in the eyes of the law. So I think we are a nation that we have not been able to develop national consciousness for the good of all of us in society. And how can we contribute? Like I said earlier, in Nigeria, we're concerned about our right freedom, we're not concerned about our obligations and duties. I quoted Section 24E of the Constitution earlier. So 24E of the Constitution provides that it is a concern to every Nigerian citizen to contribute towards security agency, internal law and order. But most Nigerians they're also that the obligation, they're only concerned about their rights and freedom. And to become conscious, we have that attitudinal change to see we are there for this country to serve this country. And then again, we don't also see security as, so it is commonly said that security is everybody's business. But how many Nigerians does understand sincerely that security is their business? They don't. You know, so when we become only nationalistic in our thinking, our actions, and saying concern about the needs of all of us, and saying that justice is being done, and our politicians also have a reinvent their thinking. The issue of each deficit in the public trust. That today, some would mention today, there's no trouble on the military and the police, and it is true. It's a social fact. That trust deficit has a historical base. When the British established Nigerian police for the colonial era, the British established police, which was the first force in the country was Nigerian with the police. And the main objective was to protect British interests of the citizens. And that was the beginning of this antagonism, we and they. The people saw the police as only agents of government against the people, as anti the people. And again, at that time too, the police were very repressive, abuse of human rights. You know, even those who fought for independence, some of them were arrested behind bars. We have the Enugu Cold riot, Abuja women riot, and so forth. So until when they know that the police in this country, security agencies, they are not for regime protection. It is Nigerian police force and the armed forces of Nigeria. They are there to protect what is best for the interest of the country, not interest of the presidency or interest of any governor. So until this is done, and then the issue of intelligence. See, the NSA office is a hub. We have NIA, National Intelligence, we have DSS, we have military intelligence, defense intelligence, and police also intelligence. All these intelligence agencies are supposed to work together for the good of the country. That is share intelligence, and then gather information and share intelligence. The NSA's office is the one to collate and ensure that when they meet, they share intelligence. But the point is that how sincere are they? How sincere each of these agencies? Are they willing to share intelligence? Like I said earlier, each one wants to be to that is the best performer, is the best of all. They want to impress Mr. President, I'm the performer. When they say that they are fighting a collective battle that confronts Nigerian insecurity, and they should all be concerned about how do we work together like fingers of one hand. Look at the fingers. They're not of equal size. When the 5 fingers want to carry an object, now say, no, I will not participate in carrying the object. But we will say, okay, I will not take part, I will not do this and so forth. And they're fighting themselves, even challenging themselves. So until we develop that consciousness that all the agencies, and it should be a national policing strategy. When there's a national policing strategy, then you have police now give a national direction, leadership direction on what policing should all be about. They have to define the roles of the other agencies who are participating in internal security, other agencies who are supporting the police, and give that leadership direction. And we know what roles you want to do, what the rules of engagement, and so forth. But this country today, since Nigerian police was established, they don't have a national policing strategy. And that's also a lacuna. Until when there's national policing strategy, the police will know what they should be doing. Other agencies will know what their role, and so forth. And when it should be, in case there's a problem, who will intervene. So I think these are things we need to do. The agencies should work together. And the citizens also support the police and support the government. And the government, the political will. The government, because of parochial, nepotic attitude, tribalism, and so forth, all factors, and the government will develop a political will to do the needful and do what they need to do. If you equip the police, give them the required manpower based on their need, give them the training, the required training, give them equipment, and motivate them. The police can ensure the peace of this country can be granted. But because the police have been neglected, like I said earlier, the tableau of internal security has been so neglected. And when the tableau is neglected, the tree itself will become very, very vulnerable. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Alobi. Thank you so much for your expertise and really breaking it down and bringing the historical context of what the responsibilities of the police are and were, and why we have that trust deficit today between the police and the people. With that said, I want to thank everybody again for joining us. I want to thank each and every one of the panelists. Ian did you just raise your hand, or did I?
Yes, if I can jump on that last question, just quickly, and I know the irony of an outsider answering this question, but one thing that I discovered when I was doing research on for this conference is there was a paper released in 1987, a book I should say, sorry, a gentleman named Richard Joseph, where he describes something called the prebendal nature of Nigerian politics. And what he means by this is a prebend refers to this sort of title that was given in a Catholic church or a Catholic organization that would ensure the person who has the prebend is entitled to profits and to run some of the church's goings-ons. In the Nigerian context, what that refers to is sort of a view among the Nigerian people that the state is there not as an entity it's meant to help the whole of the people who live within the Nigerian territory, but that different ethnic groups and patronage networks seek to access political office and other appointments in Nigeria to then direct state revenue towards their patron networks, towards their ethnic group. And so if you are an Ijao and you're not in power, you simply must wait until you mobilize and get the vote and then get yourself into power. And then once you're in there, you got to do everything in your power to direct those resources back to the Ijao community. So I think kind of what the part of the question was getting at is, do Nigerians view themselves firstly as Nigerian, or do a lot of them still identify more strongly based on their ethnic group or their religious community or even the city they grew up in? So I just put the link to what I was discussing in the chat. You know, what I'm describing is really more of like a broader social thought that until Nigerians start seeing, until the Yoruba and the Igbo and the Yoruba and the Itsekiri, until all of these different ethnic groups see their concerns and issues tied up with the other peoples within Nigeria and not sort of view themselves as individual units competing for power, we're going to kind of be replicating these problems, or it seems like Nigeria will keep replicating these problems going down the line in the future.